For someone listening who's thinking about going to Founders Institute, what advice would you have for them?
You're going to hear stuff that you're probably not going to like, and you might be defensive about it. The connections that you make, the people that you meet, it's so worth it. And you're going to be such a better founder at the end of it. If an investor tells you no, how has your life changed since that no? It doesn't change.
Welcome back to Seed Money. If you're an early stage founder wondering what it really takes to not only join, but actually graduate from an accelerator and build a fundable startup, you're going to want to listen to today's conversation because we have Kevin Nesgoda here. Who is the CEO of OutPaged, which uses an AR platform to turn books into an immersive experiences, which I think is so cool. And I can't wait to talk about it. Kevin's amazing. He is not only a cancer survivor, crazy story there that I just heard yesterday, but he is a lifelong creative. And he's gone from award-winning writer to a founder that has really been shaped by urgency and resilience and this fearless drive to act on his vision, which I know many can relate to. He just graduated from the Founders Institute last night in LA, and we are going to talk grit. And he's going to talk about why the solo genius myth is also the fastest way to kill your startup. So Kevin, welcome. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Jayla.
Yeah, this is fun. It's been so nice to connect. I mentored with the Founders Institute years ago and just recently started mentoring again. And that's how we got connected. And I've said this a million times. I love what you're doing. I think it's so cool.
Thank you.
I think it has so much potential. So give us a little bit, before we get into your Founders Institute experience, give us a little overview of what your company is, because you're going out to raise funding. You got some exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, we're pitching in front of a bunch of investors on February 5th in San Francisco as part of the Founders Institute demo day for graduating. So that's pretty exciting. And then we'll hopefully be connecting with some angels and getting some funding and, getting my team from part-time to full-time with me. So, I'm very, very excited for everything to come.
You will do it.
Thank you.
So you have self-funded so far.
Yes.
Not a insignificant amount to get your company going.
It's been a few dollars, yeah. Over the past couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, but it goes to show, I think having skin in the game like that, it says a lot. You are committed to this. We talked about that. I think given your background, you talk about this in your pitch, which I know you're going to do next week. But talk a little bit about just your level of commitment and also where this idea came from, because I think it's a really cool story.
So, yeah, the idea came from, it actually happened in college over 20 years ago, before AI and augmented reality even existed. Like, it was barely even in movies at that point. Like, no one really knew what it was. But it was a cold, snowy night, and I was selling televisions at Best Buy. And I knew it was going to be boring, and my boss wouldn't let me bring a book onto the floor. He's like, figure out another way to read your book. I'm like, okay. So I had the half megapixel LG flip phone at the time with the half-inch screen. So I took a bunch of pictures of pages from Stephen King's Dark Tower series, and I was trying to read it. I was struggling so hard to read the tiny little text. It didn't work. But I thought to myself at the time, this would be so cool if we could use our phones to look into the book and see, use it as a window to see inside the book and see the world. And, I was living with my co-founder at the time, and I went home and told him the idea, and he's like, that'll never happen. And I'm like, well, yeah, you're probably right. And he's like, yeah, who knows if the whole cell phone thing will take off? Because this was 2004, we just got flip phones and Nokia, there was no color or anything.
The Razor, that was I had the Razor, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, I think this was pre-Razor when I had this idea. Yeah, and I was like, huh. And then a couple of years ago, I was COO of another AR company, and we were pitching Amazon Studios on something else, and then I just randomly brought up the idea of what would be OutPaged, and they're like, if you build that, come back and talk to us. So I'm like, okay. And I thought, and I'm like, okay, now is actually the time to start building this. And this was like back in, I guess, '03 now. So yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. That's so cool. What validation to hear that. So how long ago was that you heard that from the Amazon?
I think it was October 2023 is
Okay,
when it
sorry,
happened. Yeah.
2023. Got it. Okay, so
Yeah.
not
And
too
then,
bad.
yeah, we started building in 2024.
Yeah. Okay, man, that's amazing. Okay, and then what led you from there to Founders Institute?
Um, I was making a lot of mistakes in pitches and like searching for money and things like that. And I'm like, I need to go get learned up basically and talk to people who know what they're actually doing. Like, I had some mentors and stuff on the outside that were kind of helping me, but it wasn't enough. And started researching and, I didn't want to go the YC route yet because obviously wasn't ready. It's like I needed something else to kind of get me to where, you needed to be for YC or other big accelerators. And not saying Founder Institute isn't big, but for where we were at, Founder Institute was perfect. It helped us. I'm 100x the founder I am today than I was when we started back in October. So, everybody on Founders Institute, from Serafina, yourself, Jason, Carl, and on down, Bob Safari, everybody was amazing and helping get me to where we are. And I have to say, Founders Institute was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. Like, I'm doing 40 plus hours on my startup a week, and I was probably doing another 40 hours for Founders Institute as well. So,
Wow. Yeah, that was a lot right there. So when you say you're 100x the founder that you were, give some examples. Like, do you look at things differently? Is it confidence? Like, what are some of the things you feel like have really are behind that?
Confidence is the biggest one, I think. I am a confident person, but sometimes I get in my own head and I kind of slink away. So, but I had enough people saying this is a good idea. You should really keep going forward with this and like really pushing me forward, and definitely got me a lot of confidence and just like all the learnings and things like that, things I didn't even think about, like, documenting, like, like we had to do a whole graduation plan that plans out our next 6 months. Like I'm a former project manager. So like I do a lot of long-term planning, but some of the stuff that they had us doing and like thinking of, I hadn't thought of, just because I don't come from a sales background. Like, what are your sales goals going to be? And I'm like, okay, I've was always like, let's just go for the best. And then it actually, you having me put metrics to those sales goals is going to be very, very, help me, get to those goals. And then how many books we release and what does our release plans look like and stuff like that. So there's just so much. Like, honestly, if you need to get your butt kicked and just become a better founder, go through Founder Institute. It's amazing. Like, honestly, like I think 42 of us started and there was 7 of us at graduation last night.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty amazing. Well, and one of the things about Founders Institute, I think, is that I love and believe in is that even if you don't make it to graduation, that can be a win because for some reason, you've identified that your company or personally, you're not at a place to put what is needed into it, or there's something not viable about the business model or something. And you can save yourself so much time by figuring that out early.
Right.
So I think there is an element of pushing through, being willing to do the work. But there's also an element of really peeling back all the layers and figuring out, like, do I have a fundable business here? Right. It's like.
Yeah, exactly. Like a few weeks ago during investor reviews, and you've also helped me do this too, but there's a portion of the business that I wasn't even talking about. And they're like, you were actually kind of a B2C, B2B type person. And I'm like, yeah, but the B2C is cooler. But they're like, but B2B gets funded quicker. And I'm like, you're right. I should talk about that more. It's and then yesterday we were talking, you're like, bring up the Amazon story. And I'm like, why didn't I talk about that before? It just helps really push you into to think of things from different perspectives. Now I'm looking at things from 2, 3 different angles. And just not holding it to my core beliefs on how this should be done and how this should work. So it definitely has made me a 100x founder. Now, I'm going to go into the pitch on the 5th with a lot more confidence. We're going to have more books available on the 5th. So, outside the 3 that we have. And yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, I'm just like so stoked without everything worked out.
That's amazing. Yeah, we were talking about that for a quick minute before we hit record, that just, I think as founders, it's funny because I was similar in a product manager role, like kind of more that product development, career before I started my company. And it's like, oh yeah, I have to learn sales. Oh yeah, I have to figure this out. But so there's just so many things rolling around in our brain, and it's sometimes easier to help other people see, the simple things that we might miss just because we're kind of bogged down with like figuring out so much.
Exactly.
I think you're really smart to reach out and get the help. I had some amazing mentors and advisors that made a huge difference for me too. So
yeah, one of my big weaknesses is, I never asked for help. And over the last couple of years, I've been learning how to do it. And, everybody like, yourself, and like I said, Jason, Carl, and et cetera, and Serafina, they've all, like, anytime I've needed help with anything, they're just like, yeah, let's get on a call. Let's talk it out. Let's hash it through. And I'm like, I should have been asking for help years ago.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that's a good reminder. And I would flip that and say, so not only have you gotten good at asking for help, but by the look of your team, you are also not afraid to delegate and find a support system. So talk to us about that, like not going the solo route. You've got two co-founders, I believe, right?
Yep. 2 co-founders, know them forever, and then have an amazing team of 9 people under us. So I'm doing various things, and I couldn't do any of this without them. They are, the backbone to OutPaged. Like, I'm the face and the voice and the idea guy, but everybody behind me is doing everything to make it work. From like, artists and graphics to making our own AI models to creating our own AR environments and building our own, web app and own publisher background. So our back end and an operating system. So yeah, they're like, we're not just like, a quick app. Like there is a whole infrastructure behind OutPaged that makes it run. So, and like I couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you've got basically stock options or equity.
Yep.
And, I think this is such a cool thing when the whole team gets behind it. You guys are on a mission, you know what I mean? And so now let's pivot a little bit into, I think your cancer story is crazy. Anybody who has overcome cancer or any disease is just incredible because it puts you in a completely different mindset. And I can't even imagine where you were, but you were essentially given 6 months to live 20 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, you'll be lucky to make it to 6 months. You have less than a 2% chance to live. It was a freak bout of liver cancer. And barely anybody ever gets this. And, I had operations, a bunch of experimental treatments, and lots of radiation and needles getting stuck in places that hurt a lot. And there were a lot of times like I wanted to give up, but I just remember telling my mom for the first time about it, and her breaking down. I'm like, I can't make my mom sad. So, I was just like, okay, like I can't do this. Like, my mom, my grandma, my brother, sister, my dad, grandpa, like everybody was like behind me and supporting me. And I was basically, it was when I first moved to California and I was trying to be a writer in Hollywood when this happened. And, I was down here alone. I had nobody. So I was just going to, UCLA and just utterly alone. And UCLA has one of the best oncology departments in the entire country. And I'm glad they do. And I'm glad I was here rather than back in Seattle at home, going through this. So, it was crazy. It was painful. And now my outlook's I'm life is short. It can be taken away at any time. So I want to do what I want, more or less. And and if an investor tells me no, I don't even give it a second thought. I've had 100 investors already tell me no, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna just go keep building. This is gonna work. And like, the customers love it. You love it. I was on a call with Slack the other day, getting a new deal done. And they're like, well, so what do you do? And I'm like, oh, check out our app. And it was just amazing to watch like him download the app and go into the first AR scene. And he just like from that moment, he turned from a 30-year-old sales guy back into a little kid. And
Wow.
the same thing happened to one of the mentors. Like he downloaded the app on a call and he started like playing with it and he totally forgot I was there. And I'm like, hey, are we going to talk? And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like really getting into the app. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But, I need help. But sorry to like pivot away from the story.
No. It's amazing. Yeah, I think life is short. Why not? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
What do we have to lose? Like, we're all to even just be talking about this stuff, have the privilege to be able to pursue something. It might not be easy. We might have to work like twice as hard depending on our situation, but we still have the ability to pursue what we want. And I don't think any of us would ever regret, trying these things. Because like you said, you change so much through the process,
Yeah. And like, I didn't have the greatest work ethic. I didn't have the drive. Like, I was kind of aloof more or less, when I was like 25 and it just like totally changed like everything. Like, I just started seeing everything in a different light. Like, I can't just do something. Like I have to work to get it done. So like, everything I've done since then, it changed basically as soon as like, the doctor said you're in remission, and like all subsequent checks that I get every 6 months to make sure it's still gone. It's changing. Sorry, I'm almost like in tears, like just kind of like thinking about that. Like the day, Dr. Lou said I'm clean. So but yeah, it is obviously life changing, and it's so hard to like put into words, and like because there's just so much emotion just sitting right here. And
congrats, because that is just such an incredible story. I can't even imagine. It's just we just never know, and I can only imagine that pushing through something like that compared to what you're doing now makes this, while it's not easy, certainly easier than, and it may feel like you're fighting for your life at times, you're fighting for your company,
yes.
but nowhere near that. So I can't even imagine. I'm sure the resilience you built there is going to carry through you to grow this company. Like where you're at right now, so you've got the product built, right?
Yes, our MVP is in market.
Yep. And so what would you say is your biggest challenge maybe to getting maybe funding? Like, are you after Founders Institute, you're like, no, okay, we are 100% ready to get a lead investor. Oh, and talk about too, what is your raise? What are you looking for?
Our raise is going to be $2 million pre-seed, and that is going to get us to 600K ARR by the end. It's going to get most of my team full-time, scaling this thing as fast as we possibly can. And it's going to get us to what I call the storyverse as well. And that is kind of like the culmination of this. And it's where you can go inside your books and actually have conversations with with the characters, go on adventures with them. Like you get to become a character in the book. And we're going to keep it 100% true to the book as well.
Wow, that is crazy. That is so trippy. Oh
yeah, it's what Meta probably wanted to do with their metaverse. I call it the storyverse. That's like the working title. Will come up with something cooler later, but that's late next year that hopefully will come out as long as we get funding and I get my team full time.
Yeah, love it. And okay, so you're going out to raise 2 million. Do you have like a type of investor in mind? Are you looking for someone who understands the space, who can also bring connections? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I love being mentored and I love to learn. So like, my ideal investor would be somebody who's creative, can take us under their wing, can kind of like help us out a little bit. I mean, one of our investors, she's, worked in, or not investors, but advisors. She's from, Big Five Publishing. And so she has a lot of connections there. So we don't exactly need connections into the publishing world. And I made a ton last year when I was roaming the well, I guess that's such a creepy way to say it. But like, when I was at the London Book Fair, I wasn't roaming. I was actually like shaking hands and meeting people. But it was overwhelming, and there were so many people there, and it was a lot of fun. And I want to go back this year, but my wife says no. She says maybe next year. Just somebody who can kind of help us, go from pre-seed to seed. And then hopefully my projections show that we probably won't need to raise Series A or Series B. We'll hopefully be making that much money, have most of the publishing world working with us as partners in some form or another. And, then we can have an exit somewhere in 2030, 2031 or so.
To Amazon.
To Amazon, exactly. For a lot of money.
Yeah, amazing. Oh my God. Wow, that's cool. I mean, that's a good place to be. So really, you are at that point where you just need fuel on the fire. You've got the product, you've got the connections, you've got your strategy. You just need which is a good place to be. Like that's when investors want to jump in, when you need fuel on the fire. What is your use of funds look like?
About 60% is going to go to just a little, I think 59% is going to go to continuing to build the product, engineering, R&D, things like that. About 100K will go to, legal and operations. And most of it's going to go to engineering, like if not more than 60%. So.
Yeah. And I think legal, pointing that one out is a big one that people don't realize. When you are going to that next step, there are typically a lot of legal costs trying to protect whatever you're doing. And
a lot of contracts to sign with publishers and authors and agents. Yeah. So, we have money set aside for extra that we can pull. It's going to be an adventure on the legal side.
Yeah. Okay. So stepping back, for someone listening who's thinking about going to Founders Institute, what advice would you have for them if they're considering applying right now?
I would say be prepared to do a lot of work. It's going to challenge how you think. You're going to hear stuff that you're probably not going to like, and you might be defensive about it. Like some people in my cohort, they're like, no, this is going to work, even though they had every single, advisor and mentor tell them, pivot. Be prepared to pivot. There's no shame in pivoting. Like, look at YouTube. Like, they weren't what they are today, or Twitch. They started off following some guy sleeping in his bedroom, and, it turned into a video game streaming platform. So there's no shame in pivoting, and again, be prepared to work. It's a lot of work. But it's good work. It's not like, all for naught. You're going to work on pitching, be comfortable pitching, be comfortable talking to other people, be confident. Like it's going to help build your confidence. So if you're lacking in confidence a little bit, come in and be ready to grow. Your work groups are going to be amazing. I have a text chat every day, multiple times a day with my working group, and we're all driving to San Francisco together for the pitch competition in a couple of weeks, and we're all staying in the same Airbnb. So you're going to make friends, and it's been such an amazing experience. And I honestly just do it. It does cost a little bit of money, but just do it. Like the connections that you make, the people that you meet, it's so worth it. And you're going to be such a better founder at the end of it.
But to clarify, it's not that much. It's under $1,000. Is that correct?
Correct. I think it was 700.
700.
Yeah.
You're not giving up equity like
right.
Some accelerators, correct?
No, you give up. There's a 2.5% warrant.
Oh, 2.5%. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah. Some of them are definitely much higher.
Yeah. And 10%.
Yeah. 2.5 is whatever. And totally worth it to be able to think about all the, potential stumbles you're saving by thinking through a lot of this stuff ahead of time. I think, being, again, I mentioned this last night kind of at the graduation, but to start a company is one thing, but to put as much intention into your rollout plan as possible can really save you some headaches. It's crazy. When you say you're doing 40 hours of work, what type of stuff are you doing? So give us some examples.
Oh my God. We're doing practice pitches. We're working on our 60-second pitch, our 3-minute pitch, our 5-minute pitch. We're working on our 10 slide deck, our 15 slide deck, our 25 slide reading deck. That's what I spent most of my time on. And then we're learning how to we're watching lectures on how to do sales and, writing down what we've learned and how that can implement, how we can implement it into our business and things like that. So everything is so intentional, and it's week over week. Last week we did funding, our funding round. So we built our data rooms, our go-to-market strategies, and tasks in a go-to-market strategy is not a go-to-market strategy. That the strategy is everything put together. I've learned, I did not know the difference between that and, before I started. So just saying I'm going to go push social media, that's part of your strategy. That is not the strategy. So
Yeah.
that's one of the big things I learned. And yeah, it's just it starts at the base of your business and works you all the way up and through. And there's just so much. It would take me 2 hours to explain week by week everything that you'd have to do. And if reach out to me if you have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them and happy to give you recommendations and put you in touch with people. So but just go do it. Just do it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. And they have, you were in the LA one, there's chapters kind of all over the country.
Right.
So when you talk about the cohort size, that's for that one specific area. But look it up. I think it is an amazing program. It's basically weeks and weeks of poking holes in your business.
Yep.
Right? Because investors are going to do that. So it's nice to think through all that stuff ahead of time. Think of how much more prepared you are to answer investors' questions now than previously. Right?
Oh yeah. Back in October, there have been things I'd have to go look it up. And now I know these things just off the top of my head. And, I'm definitely I'm so ready to go talk to investors and anybody else who wants to talk about OutPaged. I know my business, I knew my business really well, but now I really know my business, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm excited for you. It's so cool. And I think too, this is one of those, again, just to talk about the product for a minute. It's interesting because I'm a reader, but I'm not a crazy reader. I read business books, but I just am not, I don't know, I'm not a big reader. I listen to books and podcasts, but I'm not a huge reader. But I am so curious, something like this, you know what I mean? If that would change that. What do you see? What's your big vision from a cultural shift, for what you're doing? Do you see this?
So 72% of people under the age of 45 want more immersive entertainment. That's why people are reading less and playing more video games, spending more time on TikTok and, things like that. And that it kind of leaves a little doorway open for OutPaged to come in there because, you can read, but we're also going to put you inside the book. So, if you're reading Alice in Wonderland, you're going to be able to use your phone as a window to look into Wonderland and see Alice, the rabbit, the queen, all that good stuff. And then when we start signing publishing partners, we want to put you in Narnia and, Middle Earth and all those fun places. I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting, Simon and Schuster on because I'm a big Stephen King fan and I would love nothing more to spend some time in Derry and, that'll be exciting.
Yeah, that is so cool.
So yeah,
and
go ahead.
How does the revenue break down? So how's the split? Who's making money and how?
So, we're kind of doing an industry standard, Apple and Amazon, they both do a 70-30, but since we're doing a little bit more than them, we're going to take 35% rather than 30. And we'll also have a service fee that we charge the publishers, and it just depending on how many books and stuff they want to do. But, we'll do a 50-50 split with them up, so they don't have to pay upfront costs because publishers, they're very, risk adverse. And so I'm trying to take as much risk away from them as possible. We'll shoulder that. And, say they are the service fees 10K? We'll do a 50-50 split until we hit 10K, and then we'll go to the 60-30 or 65-35. And, they get more money, and then they can split it with the authors and staff and however else they want to do it.
And it's a kind of thing where our books offer this and someone else's doesn't. So it basically gives them a leg up, another reason for people to purchase, right?
Right. It's going to be great for backlists. Right now we're doing public domain books for ourselves, just to to test out our MVP and things like that, to test our back end and all that good stuff. But, when we start signing publishers, they can bring in, their top selling books. They can also bring up in books that haven't, sold in 20 years. However, if they want to say, here's 5,000 books, they're like, all right, we're going to start putting that through. So, we're not there yet. We can't do 5,000 books at one shot, but we will get there.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, that makes more sense. Interesting. Okay, what would you say from all that you've learned in doing this and everything you went through before, what recommendations do you have for people on how to push through, be resilient, and just kind of overcome the very big challenges that come with starting a company or going through anything in life?
Yeah, have a good support group. That's the biggest thing. I can lean on my co-founders. I can lean on other members of my team, and it's been amazing. My friends have been very, very supportive through the whole thing as well, and they're always asking questions. Same with my family. So. No, make sure you have a good support group, because you literally cannot do this alone. If you think you can do this alone, you're fooling yourself. It's going to be way, way hard. Get a team, offer equity, get good people around you. There are amazing people out there that don't come from Stanford or, places like that. Although I did get a good person from MIT, and he's turned down $300K offers to go work at Google and other places to work for equity for me, because what we're building is just much cooler than, what he could go build elsewhere. And there's a lot of talented people all around the world. You just have to know how to look and how to find them. And if an investor tells you no, how has your life changed since that no? It doesn't change. What between the minutes before they said no and the minutes after, nothing has changed. You're just going to go do the same thing. Just go find the next investor. Go find the next co-founder. Go find the next teammate. Just keep going. No's are not the end of the world. There's just an opportunity to learn and improve. Every time I pitched and been told no, I self-reflected and I should have done this, this, and this. And I go to my next pitch and it was even better. And yeah, so always improve yourself too. So that's the big thing.
Yeah, it really is something you get better at. I think I've definitely seen this more honestly often than not, where people kind of are ready to raise money and they go out and they think they're going to get it in the first 10 conversations. And I mean, that is such a rare scenario for that to actually happen. And I think if you treat it like what you're talking about, of just, I'm going to go into this and I'm going to learn, refine, and get better and better and better and better. Eventually get to that point where you are fundable, and then
exactly.
It's just, it's like luck, preparation meets opportunity. And
exactly. I was not fundable in 2004. After I had the idea, we had a basic POC and everybody's like, okay, go build it. And I'm like, but why are we different? Everybody's funding AI and things like that. And it's just because my name wasn't Sam Altman. So it's when I learned that, and then it's oh, that makes so much more sense. I am nobody to these people. And you just have to, make yourself somebody. And the more you have behind you, the better your team you have, the better product you have, the more the more people it just makes things a lot easier. And going through Founder Institute, I wouldn't be doing this podcast right now if it wasn't for Founder Institute. So, and then you helping me with my pitch deck a ton, and helping me with all that. So, community, friends, family, team, that is the biggest thing you have to go build. Get that first, get the product, then join Founder Institute, get your preconceived notions completely challenged, and then go start raising money, I would say. Or maybe go join another accelerator afterwards. then go for YC, go for Techstars or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are not a tech guy, right? So you had this tech idea, but that's not your background, which I love that you're like, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to find the people to help me do it.
Yeah, I don't know how to code whatsoever. And, I can vibe code some stuff, but no, I needed people who knew AI, who knew augmented reality. Like, my other co-founders, they're not technical. They come from a design background, and design's huge in our app. So I needed that. And Joanna, she comes from a huge legal and startup background. And we're obviously going to need that as we're negotiating deals and things like that. And, she's really, really good at that. And then we went and found people who were passionate and absolutely loved the vision, what I had. Like, I completely sold people on the vision. And I've tried to keep it not cult-like, because I've been part of startups that were cult-like, and I don't want to do that because that scares me. I'm just so happy with the team that I have. I absolutely love every single one of them. And we chat, and my door is always open. So, one of my AI guys, he called the other day, and we had a 3-hour conversation just chatting about random stuff. So, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, but yeah, I'm always open to my team to chat about anything. We have a soccer chat going on with some of us, and because, one of our guys, he's in England, a huge Man U fan. Another guy's in Mexico, and he's a huge Monterrey fan. And I've always been a Real Madrid fan. So we always talk soccer and, barbecue and what we're doing on the weekends. And yeah, I know quite a bit about everybody's life, and obviously I can know more, but I want to keep my team always like that. I'm a very personal person, and I know I've kind of got off thread, but I'm not a techie at all. I've worked in tech, but I can't code. I can't do much. I could set up servers, but I can't do anything my team's doing. So yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, they're so smart and way better than me.
Yeah, no, I think your team is such a strong point in your pitch. And, I think the one thing that comes to mind, because I remember thinking this, is, why hasn't a big company done this, right? And I think that for anyone listening who maybe just has the idea and isn't acting on it, sometimes big companies, until it is proven on a small scale, they don't want to use all the resources to go out. I look at Coca-Cola, for example. They will launch a new SKU and it totally flops, right? But then some smaller startup will come up and who can be a little bit scrappier and prove it out on a smaller scale and scale it up from there. So yes, maybe, a bigger company in theory could do something like this, but they don't want to put the resources into it. They would rather see it proved out. So what are your thoughts on that? Because I think that holds people back a lot of times, where they're like, well, I don't know. What if someone else, what if a bigger company is just going to do this, or that kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, there's ways that you can put moats in. One of our big moats is going to be we're going to have exclusivity with publishers. They're going to be locked into OutPaged. So, Apple or Amazon can't come in and swoop in and steal our tech or anything. If they want that, they have to buy us. But yeah, do your idea. You're always going to iterate. The first iteration of how I was doing OutPaged is completely different from how it is today. So no, it's not completely different. It's just a little different, but it's evolved. Don't be afraid to evolve your product. Your first idea is not going to be your last idea, and just do it. Make something that you could, take to IPO, or take something that, you can get bought with. So just keep building, build. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Any other advice or anything you want to put out there, or?
Have fun with it. It's going to be stressful. It's going to be a lot of hours. It's going to be your life. Go on hikes, spend time with your dogs, take your partner out for dinner, go to movies, do things that are not part of the startup. Sometimes you have to give yourself a break, because you do not want to, burn out. I told my team over Christmas, don't work. Everybody's been busting their ass for the entire of 2025. It's time to just for a little bit. Although some of them ignored that and kept working. I'm doing my best to I'm I guess I'm very, very European in how I want to run a business. I want to like definitely put my people first, because if I don't have good people and I have unhappy people, then I'm not going to have a good product, and I'm going to have a lot of churn, and it costs a lot of money and time and energy to get people up to speed, especially if you're making something new that no one else has done before. So, you can't have churn. So yeah, just be a good person. Don't be an asshole. Like,
Best advice yet.
Because like, just be personal. Like, the people that you're building your company with are going to be by your side day in and day out for years and years and years. So you have to find people, one, that you like, ones that you can talk to. And if like, I would say this, if, you met a teammate and you didn't want them to come sleep on your couch for a month because like, your guys are like in building something, don't hire that person. Like, you have to be able to like, spend ungodly amount of time with these people. And like, sometimes there's some days that I talk to my team more than I talk to my wife, and I absolutely hate that. But like, sometimes it needs to be done. And, so yeah, just be cool and just be nice, and, go make a lot of money, build something cool, have fun.
And, I think with that too, you will attract investors who share a similar mindset. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of people out there. And I think finding people who are aligned in that sense too can be super important. And because they're going to appreciate what that brings to your company in terms of not burning your people out. So all those things that you're saying, not only are they like good for our own personal health, it is actually good for it de-risks elements of the company, right? So
exactly. Yeah. Like, you don't have to be a slave driver. You don't have to work people into the ground like, other companies do. Just like, treat other people like you want to be treated. And like, like I want a Christmas break. I want an end of the year break. I want, to be able to go hiking with my dogs and things like that and not have to look at my phone. And yeah, that's how I'm going to run my company. Like, we're going to make awesome, cool things, and we're going to scale, and we're going to be $1 billion company one day, I hope. And, but I want to make sure everybody who's there now is there with me at the end, because like I said, I love my team. I love what we're doing. And yeah, I don't want to burn them out. I don't want to abuse them. I want them to be happy. And like, I want them to proudly say, I work at OutPaged, and we're building some of the coolest shit in the world, and we're having fun doing it. So you should come work with us. I guess it's also a marketing but marketing tool to get, top talent to come to us, because like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. People want to be a part of something fun and exciting and cool, and that also they feel good about, and they feel like they're, it's not a situation where they're just, pulling their hair out at the end of the day. Of course, there are those moments, but ultimately, yes. You know what I mean? Where it is a positive environment. Most people want to live and work and be surrounded by good, positive people. And you can work really hard and balance it out as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't do so well. I wasn't so good at that at the beginning. I did that with my team. Like I told them, but I wouldn't take a break, but I learned that lesson the hard way. I got burnt out.
Same. And then my wife had a talk with me, and she's like, yeah, we need to start doing this, this, and this. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. And she's like, we're going to go to movies. You're going to turn your phone off. We're going to go to dinner. You're going to turn your phone off, and like everything can wait. Nothing like totally. Anything that we're doing nothing is life and death. Like if we're in med tech and like we had patients hooked up to our software or machines or whatever, yes, my phone would be on. But like, building interactive stories that, that's on your phone, that's not life and death. So I think a lot of people need to realize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is a good reminder. And I think back to the original kind of earlier conversation around our brains are so bogged down with so many things, stepping away. Now it's like proven that it makes you more productive if you do give yourself a break. If you do rest your brain, it's like actually really needed. It's not just a nice to have. It makes you more efficient, in the long run.
I unplugged over Christmas for a few days, and my brain is functioning again. Like, it was, I was pudding brain by the end of the year, and I was like on the verge of burnout, and now I'm like doing some of my best work I have like all year. I guess we're in 2026, so I'm definitely doing the best work I have all year right now. So, and again, like another thing that you pointed out on LinkedIn was like delegate. Like, founders should be doing X, Y, and I was doing X, Y, Z, Q, B, up 11, and I'm like, I started delegating, taking things off my plate, and now I'm just like, like I can focus like on what I need to focus, and that's fundraising and finishing Founder Institute, making the business better. So like I'm 100% on the business. I'm no longer trying to vibe code little tools to help my guys. Like they can do that. They have access to all that stuff, and yeah, like I'm my job is to go get them paid. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, love it. Well, promise us you will post about your fundraising process to some degree on LinkedIn. So go follow Kevin on LinkedIn, and would love to have you back on once you close the round and you can tell us about your experience there.
For sure.
I think it'll be really fun. And then when you hit $1 billion, you got to come back also. So
100%. Well, I'll bring wine since, I do that on the side too. So
we will definitely have a toast. So very cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I'm so excited for you. I think this is going to be so exciting to watch your success.
Thank you so much.
And putting in all the hard work. Like you have done all the things needed to get yourself ready to attract investors and actually get this thing ramped up, which is super exciting. So
very, very excited. Yay. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So we'll put a link to OutPaged. Where can people download the app? Like, what do you need help? Anything, what can the audience do right now?
Yeah, go download the OutPaged app right now. We have 3 books. It's our MVP. So it's not the finished product. We're still taking customer feedback to work towards our V1. So, download it, share it with your friends. I'm the only Kevin Nesgoda on the planet. So I'm really easy to find on socials. You just search me and I'm the only one. So, be like, hey, I like this part of the app, but I dislike this part. And, I'm taking everything into account. Like, I want to make an app that everybody absolutely loves and enjoys to use daily. So that's the big thing. Go buy books and keep reading.
No, I love that. Great message. Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you, Kevin. This is awesome. So excited for you. And we'll keep an eye out for the good news on LinkedIn once you're after San Francisco or whenever it closes, but you will do it. I have no doubt.
Thank you so much. And it's been a great pleasure to be on this podcast. Thank you.
Yay, of course.